It's 2015. I am unemployed. My wife is a high-powered private attorney in downtown Seattle. I can barely peel myself out of bed by noon every day, let alone work up the energy to shower. And she is also 8 months pregnant. And she really, really needs me to build a crib. And to be honest, I really want to build the crib too. Every time she asks me, I think, yeah, I want to build the crib. I want to build the crib. And I think about building the crib when I'm lying in bed staring at the ceiling, when I'm laying on the couch staring at the TV, when I'm sitting on the floor of my future daughter's bedroom staring at the unopened box of the crib. And every time I think about it, and every time I don't build that crib, I'm filled with more and more self-loathing. And she becomes so exasperated that she tells me, Doug, I'm not sure I can do this with you. You need to figure this out. You haven't done anything on the list. I don't see how this is going to work if I don't have a full partner as a parent. And the thing is, she's not wrong. She's right. I don't think I can do it. How can I be a parent if I can't build a crib? I'm a combat veteran of the 82nd Airborne Division. I'm a former law enforcement officer. I graduated in the top of my class from law school, and I can't build a crib. And that darkness that was in me that sapped all my energy, that wasn't the first time that had been there. I'm 11 years old. I'm sitting in the toy room off of my bedroom in my childhood home, and there's cold light streaming through the window. I'm sitting on the ground, and I'm holding a steak knife. And I place it to my chest, and I feel the point prick into my skin. That was the first time in my life that darkness had started spreading through my chest and spreading through my body like disease through a dying tree. And that steak knife was the only way I thought I could show my parents that pain that I was experiencing. Because to them, all they could see was that I was one of the smart kids. I was smiling on the outside. But I was failing science. I'm not even bad at science. I just couldn't do my worksheets. I thought to myself, I'm one of the smart kids. Why can't I just do my worksheets? Why am I failing science? Unfortunately, I didn't keep pressing that knife into my chest. I put it down. Instead, I wrote a poem about that knife. And my mom found it. And she took action and sent me to therapy. And I think therapy at 11 years old saved my life, but it wasn't the end of dealing with depression, with that dark, diseased feeling spreading through my spirit. And I continued to struggle with it throughout young adulthood, through breakups and more bad grades and employment problems, until somehow I ended up in the middle of a combat zone in Iraq in 2005. And I'm standing at parade rest, and I'm getting screamed at by this Eye of Sauron level evil NCO that was in charge of me at the time. And I can't even remember what he was saying to me. I was just thinking, how could I forget my weapon in the bathroom? How can I be a good soldier if I can't keep track of my weapon? And on top of that, I wasn't even doing the things that I wanted to do. That darkness was spreading through me because I was separated from my friends. I was working in a headquarters unit, running the radios and driving Humvees for senior officers. I joined the Army because I wanted to go to combat. I'm not in combat with my friends because I got injured in training. And before you get tempted to think that there's a sexy story behind that, like I fell out of a helicopter or something, I had catastrophic heat stroke in North Carolina in June after eating some bad Taco Bell and drinking too much and going for a 5-mile run on Monday morning with the company. And then a few years later, in 2009, I'm in Seattle, and I'm working as a law enforcement officer, and I'm driving, and I see someone threatening someone else with a length of board, and I pull my car over, and I jump out, and I pull my weapon on him, not realizing in my sleep-deprived, fuzzy haze that I'm violating about 10 policies when I'm doing that. Don't worry, nobody gets hurt. I put my weapon away, and somebody else, another agency, takes custody of him. In 2009, I was going through a breakup with my girlfriend of almost 8 years. And she tells me she's in love with somebody else. He just has so much more joy for life than you do. And strangely enough, around that time is the time that I meet my future wife, the one who really, really, really wants me to build the crib. Fast forwarding to 2015. And she meets me in the depths of this depression, and she knows that I'm going through it, and for some reason she still likes me. But she and I are both laboring under the illusion at the time that maybe I'm just depression prone. Maybe it's just situational. And that if I meet the right person or if I get the right job, I tick the right marks in my life, that maybe I won't have to deal with depression anymore. That maybe if I just avoid those situations, if I can nimbly skirt around life's problems, that I won't have another major depressive episode. But then it's 2015 again, and I'm staring at that crib box, and my daughter is on the way. And that's a situation I can't avoid. And after weeks of urging, as many times or more than she asked me to build the crib, my wife asks me to go to therapy. And in what felt like a Herculean feat at the time, I called probably 5 or 6 different therapists trying to find the right one. And one, I hate talking on the phone, and talking on the phone with depression is even worse. And I go to therapy for years. And finally, one day, I have a breakthrough, and isn't even in the therapy room. I stumble across a relic from my life, a LiveJournal post from 2007 after I got out of the Army. And if you know what LiveJournal is, you know how embarrassing that statement is. And I'm talking about how I'm out of the Army and I can't find a job. Like, I feel worthless. Am I always going to feel this way? Am I always going to be dealing with this? And all of a sudden, I was looking at my illness from 30,000 feet. And then I brought that in to my therapist. And talking it over, I came to realize that I wasn't just depression prone, that it wasn't just situational depression, that I had recurrent major depressive disorder. And instead of that feeling like a burden that was freeing, I felt relieved. Because I didn't have to blame myself anymore for just not avoiding the right situations. And now things are so much better than I could have even realized on that day when I was 11 years old, poking that steak knife into my chest. I never did build that crib. My wife built it, I think 8 or 9 months pregnant. I'm sorry, Katie. But I've got a beautiful 4.5-year-old daughter who is on her way to loving Star Wars even more than I do. I have a 1.5-year-old son who cracks me up every day and thinks everything with 4 legs is a dog. And I've been working for 3 years as a trial attorney, doing very well for myself. Things that I wouldn't even thought possible in the depths of my depression in 2015. And one of the things about having major depressive disorder, recurrent major depressive disorder is worrying that maybe I'm not just going to pass on my eye color to my children, that maybe I'll pass on the disease too. But even if I do, I know that even though I've tried to stack up all these heroic things in my life to prove something to myself, I know that there's heroism in the everyday act of being a good role model to my children so that they don't have a 30-year learning curve if they have my disease. Thank you.